Okay, well, let's find out how Trump has apparently changed the rules of the global economy with this massive list of what he calls reciprocal tariffs. Confusion, of course, reigns over the longer term implications, even the short term impact of this. We're joined by Karthik Sankaran, Senior Research Fellow in Geoeconomics at the Quincy Institute. Thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here.
I think it's fair to say that the methodology that was used in coming up with these tariffs is obscure. I did see Peter Navarro, one of Trump's advisors, on CNBC this morning, and he, for instance, said, well, sales taxes imposed by our trading partners, they're protectionist. So it seems that I think that there's a lack of clarity among economists as to what Trump wants the rules to be.
Well, I mean, from the way it looks from the calculation, it seems as though he thinks that there should be balanced trade, not just across the system as a whole, but in every single bilateral trading relationship. And that's what you can back out of the methodology, because as many people have pointed out, the combination of tariffs and non-tariff barriers, what's imputed to that is basically a country's trade surplus as a fraction of the as a fraction of its exports to the U.S. And so you're kind of imputing missing imports in that through that calculation. It's like, oh, these imports are missing. These must be non-tariff barriers, and that's being done not at the level, not just as the level of the global economy, but each single country, and you end up with this crazy quilt of individualized tariffs for single countries, which then does away with the principle of most favored nation, that you treat all countries for each product the same way. So that's some pretty big damage to the rules of the game in general.
Just walk us through that again. What is meant by this most favored nation concept, and why is this being undermined here?
The idea is that, except for certain exceptions, like a free trade area such as USMCA, the idea is that countries should treat other countries the same on any single product. So, for instance, if you have a tariff of 15% on a widget with India, you should have that same tariff with Japan, assuming, and the exceptions are basically either a free trade area or a set of preferences given to very poor countries. And this undermines that principle pretty much completely. So that is a big issue for the global trading system as a whole, because it's part of this larger rethinking of American trade policy, where what matters is not the rules and the formal equality of countries under treaties or under WTO rules. It's sheer market power. It's like, Robert Lighthizer said in his first term that one of the problems with the WTO was there was too much litigation, not enough negotiation. I think what the administration wants to see is a lot more negotiation on everything. And in doing so, it's undermining the basis of litigation.
Canada and Mexico were spared the latest round of duties. And you think Mexico is particularly interesting here because it has emerged as the biggest U.S. trading partner.
It has. And, this goes to some of the discordances within the administration and within the broader American electorate about trade. And I've phrased this as there are at least three groups. There are openers who want to use trade policy to push open doors in other countries, to get them to open their markets to the U.S., to get them to lower tariffs. There are the decouplers who are mostly concerned only about China, and their view is, well, we just don't want this supply chain involving China. But if you bring it to Vietnam or Mexico, we're fine with that. And the third group are the repatriators who say, well, it's not good enough to put these things in Canada or Mexico. Everything needs to come back to the United States. And there's this tussle. And what we've seen in the process of the Canada and Mexico tariffs is that tussle is actually playing out, because you got a set of tariffs imposed on automobiles, which are contrary to the USMCA letter. There are some exceptions in recognition of the reality that a very large number of auto parts, for instance, come from Mexico. The supply chains are deeply intertwined, so there's some exemptions for that. But they still are trying to tariff all non-U.S. content, including that content that is consistent with current USMCA rules. So that leans a little more in the repatriationist camp, I think, which is to say, we want to bring these supply chains ultimately back to the U.S. But in this latest round of tariffs, Canada and Mexico did escape the reciprocal tariffs. So I think there's just a tussle within the administration about how to deal with Canada and Mexico, in line with this question of, well, do we need to have everything back in the U.S.? Is it okay just to have things in North America? What do our industry partners think, and so on?
I mean, there's a reason why factories moved out of America, and it wasn't unfair trade practices. It's just more expensive to make things in the USA. Are they chasing a quixotic dream here to have a massive manufacturing sector in the USA again?
Certainly in certain industries, right? Because I think, you've had a development of the U.S. economy that has gone in the direction of high technology. I mean, Boeing still exists. There are a lot of cheaper products that have been outsourced. The administration and supporters would argue that process has gone too far, and we need to reshore for a couple of reasons. One being the impact on big sectors of the U.S. domestic economy, and the other being national security. Post-COVID, and even more now, you need to have a much stronger industrial base that is secure from geopolitical risk. I think it's going to be very hard to do it all, frankly, for precisely the reason that you mentioned. There are already calculations that the price of the average car in the U.S. will go up by 10 to 15% as a result of this, and it's not clear what the tolerance of the American broader public will be for inflation. Other constituencies will be affected by retaliatory tariffs, American agriculture most obviously. So this is a moving target politically, and I think that's one way to see it. A final point is there's just so much uncertainty about what the tariffs are meant to accomplish. Are they a negotiating tool? Are they permanent? Before you write off a $10 billion plant somewhere outside the U.S. and bring it back home, you want to know what this is for.
Yeah, it's interesting. The Wall Street Journal calculating that Trump's policies would apparently increase the the price of an iPhone by nearly 60%. So we'll see how consumers react to that kind of thing if it comes to pass. Thank you very much indeed for joining us, Karthik.
Thank you. Absolute pleasure to be here.